Hey YouTube, this is Detroit Borg, and today we're going to take a look at the revised iPhone 4 bumper from Apple. Now, because the CDMA iPhone 4 for Verizon has a new antenna design, they've had to reposition the mute switch on the side. So that means it's moved down just a slight notch, and that means all cases that were form-fitted to that switch are no longer compatible. And in order to avoid the need to make two different cases, they've simply widened it to accommodate both the GSM or AT&T iPhone 4 and the CDMA iPhone from Verizon. If we look at the previous generation iPhone 4 bumper, you can see the packaging design has also changed. It's moved down, the wording has moved down, the back plate or cardboard is white instead of this gray color, and the Apple logo has increased in size. The back is unchanged, and so is the price tag, so there's still $29. Alright, let's get the bumper out of here. So there we have it. We can take another quick look around it. You can see that it operates with these buttons on the side. It's basically a plate that makes contact with the physical buttons on the iPhone 4 itself. Yet you do have these nice duplicated audio controls that simulate the design of the iPhone 4's buttons. So you can see they almost look like the same material. It's the same story for the sleep-wake button, and of course you see the cutout for the headphone jack and microphone. And you can see this rubbery material here. You can see it flexes near the headphone jack, and that gives you some expansion room for sliding this onto the iPhone itself. On the bottom you can see a cutout for the 30-pin dock and the speaker and microphone. Now the edge itself is a rubbery material that seals the iPhone 4. Now let's go ahead and pop the iPhone 4 in. There you go, goes in very easily. Seems to go on better. The rubber material is stiffer than this version, so it doesn't really bind up on the inside like it used to. You used to have to kind of rock this back and forth to free up the edge. So that actually works much better. Now if we compare this to the old bumper on the top, you can see that the GSM or AT&T iPhone 4 switch is at the very top of the cutout. With the CDMA or a Verizon version, it will be at the very bottom. And if you look at the old bumper, you can actually see that the cutout was actually positioned slightly higher. At least the bezel around the cutout is positioned slightly higher than this version. You can see the bezel around it is actually a little smaller. It's not as spacious as this one. And the volume controls are exactly the same. They're exact same material. They feel the same. Now if we look at the bottom, you can actually see that the cutout on the new bumper is wider than the old bumper. And I think this has something to do with the fact that this bumper only fits Apple's current 30-pin dock connector, while this will obviously fit larger ones. So perhaps they're older model or third-party 30-pin connectors. Now looking from the top, we can see that things don't appear to have changed much at all. So the cutout for the headphone jack is the same size for the microphone, and the same switch for the sleep-wake button. Overall, I actually like the iPhone 4 bumper. I no longer use it, but the iPhone 4 bumper is still a very attractive case design for the iPhone. It's very minimalistic. It protects the edges, and which is most important in the fall. If you're going to drop your iPhone, you're going to drop it on an edge. It does have a lay-on-table design, so if you lay this flat on the table, it has a nice ridge on both sides, so you're not likely to scratch it at all. I do trust this to protect the iPhone 4. It's just, it doesn't wear very well. See, this is a used one. This has actually been on my phone for about a month before I stopped using it. And that's largely because it really discolored and started looking pretty grimy, so you can see this yellowing color. In fact, you can see that the material itself is actually rippling. You can also see that down here where it just really scuffs up, and it doesn't come clean. No matter what chemicals I use, it really doesn't come clean. So although it didn't fail, it still worked, it still did its job, but at least with the white bumper, it just did not look good. So I do know other people have problems with these breaking right along this weak spot here. The other problem I have with the bumpers is this cutout, which is just not big enough. It's hard to get my finger in there to operate the mute switch, so it's still a problem. It seems to be actually a worse problem on this one because the bezel seems to be a little smaller. In fact, if you put the old iPhone 4 bumper on, you can see there is more room around the switch. So there's a little more space to stick your finger in there to operate. So this actually worked a little better. So once again, guys, this is Detroit Borg taking a look at the revised Apple iPhone 4 bumper. Thanks for watching. Dirt and dust to get in.